Well, howdy ho, fellow netizens. Today we're actually delving into the legal world of Bungie. So these are the brilliant minds behind Destiny 2 and their fun microtransaction fiesta. You know, I think we live in a time of brilliance where AAA studios cannot stop stepping on their own dicks. It's nice to see that Bungie is overachieving with this and going for a twofer with the latinx thing not so many days ago, and now this allegation coming out in regards to a racial lawsuit that we're about to get into. So in today's internet issue, Ingrid Alm, the HR manager over at Bungie, basically alleged that she was let go after raising concerns about a potential racial discrimination with the company. Alm basically joined Bungie. She's been with the company since May of 2022 with a decade of HR experience. And a few months into her role, she was asked to investigate the performance of an employee named James Smith. So he was another African-American employee. During the investigation, she found that he was the only African-American on a team of 50 and he expressed that he was feeling like targeted racially by his supervisor. So at this point, Alm does what any good HR manager would do in her position, and she basically reported this to her supervisor, the findings that she had on Smith and, kind of his complaints on, his supervisor targeting him, right? And suggested that diversity training be something that is done for Smith's supervisor. However, these recommendations were actually met with a lot of resistance, and they were all around just thinking she was a bit of a dummy for even suggesting that. Bungie basically from there recommends terminating James Smith due to productivity, which is a common move that a lot of companies do. That isn't anything that's estranged specifically towards the gaming industry. Basically, Alm was opposed to this. Obviously, she did cite that there was going to be a racial bias concern if they had done that. So essentially, it's just too convenient of a timing to fire somebody for productivity when he just brings up issues of being racially targeted, which is, fair cause to bring up. She then took this advice and sought the advice from Bungie's director of equity and inclusion. Her name is Courtney Benjamin, who advised a written warning for Smith instead. So instead of firing him, instead of letting him go, Mr. Smith's thing was brought down to a written warning for productivity, right? Which is way better than being let go. So now Alm is claiming that her supervisor reacted angrily to her actually going to Courtney Benjamin to go over Smith's issue and gave her a written warning for that. I don't know about a written warning. I mean, I guess maybe for, not following the chain of command or something, but I can see a supervisor being upset that you reached out to executive leadership for an HR related role. I don't know how close Courtney Benjamin is related to HR, but I feel like in most jobs, you don't have the normal workforce reaching out to executive leadership on normal day-to-day operational issues. I think that's just like a chain of command thing. And most supervisors in charge of those people would be like a little perturbed that they did that, right? Alm went ahead and further alleged that she was actually unfairly rated in her yearly review as needs improvement, and she thinks it's actually due to this, despite having received excellent reviews previously from other clients and people within the company. Shortly after, she found her email and platform access cut off at the company, so IT removed her without an explanation. And in September, she was informed her resignation had been accepted, despite asserting she never intended to resign. So this is a little bit odd to me because when you willfully resign, usually there's some kind of acknowledgement between both parties. So either like you send your 2-week notice, you just say, hey, I'm quitting, or, you do a no call, no show, which is just like a voluntary resignation. You kind of see where I'm going. There's some kind of acknowledgement between both parties that show both are, it's like a separation of parties, right? And if they have some kind of documentation proving that squashes a lot of her argument, right? So Alm's basically suing Bungie for retaliation and wrongful termination from here. seeking past and future wages, emotional distress damages, and attorney fees. And the jury is going to be January 22nd, 2024. Wow. Something that I think is an absolute treat is that the internet never fails to entertain me to my utmost desire. So it seems that the field is evenly split on how people's opinions feel about this, because most of the time, 9 times out of 10, 9 dentists recommend out of 10 kind of thing, that AAA studios are the ones always at fault, and they're psychos out of their mind, and anything you do to the person is absolutely bad. In this case, it seems that people are split evenly on their opinions of this situation. So we basically have 2 parties, basically one that is completely understanding of Smith and Alm being subject to reviews and performance, and if you underperform, you get the can, pretty much. I mean, most of us are used to it. I work a 40-hour-a-week job, so do most of you watching this, right? And if you aren't, if you're the weak link, guess what we do to weak links? You get cut. And then just when you think it's getting boring, John Cena comes out of nowhere from the left side of your screen with a steel chair to talk about the injustices that Bungie is committing on Ingrid Alm and Mr. Smith. Now, obviously, I am not a fan of racism, and if there's an actual racially charged situation here, then something needs to be done out of it. Court cases like this actually usually get settled outside of court because Bungie doesn't want to suffer any more communal or community type damages than they've already lost from this situation. So whether this is true or not, James and Alm are probably going to get some kind of settlement and some kind of money out of this. It's really sad to see because we won't get to see the justice in 4K of who was actually right, because I do understand both sides in this situation, right? If there was a real racially charged situation and, there's some facts and proof to back up these claims that is being alleged against Bungie, obviously something needs to be done about that and corrected in their industry. However, if they were just underperformers and lagging behind, and, if this Mr. Smith guy did use race as a way to deflect, his possible shortcomings as an employee, then that needs to be looked at as well, too. Am I saying that that's the case? I don't know, right? Is it convenient timing? Sure. I think that's like the biggest case for this being so odd, and that's why people don't terminate people of diversity during these times when reviews are up and things like that, because they can turn into racially biased type charge allegations very quickly. If so, because feelings are high, emotions are high, people are hot and heavy looking for somebody to blame, because we've talked about it a million times on this stream. It's never your fault. You never want to take accountability. That's the majority of most people. That's the human condition. I am 100% convinced. And people have been asking me, well, Hobo, where do you stand on the subject of the matter? Well, I'll tell you. I was sitting right in the middle on this, and I can't really make a decision because I don't have all the facts. This is an allegation, and that's the problem with this, is the internet usually jumps to the conclusion that the alleged person is just a horrible person without, any proof to back it up. In this case, the only proof we have so far is somebody's word for it, which people, in my opinion, are dishonest. So you never know. If this does make it to court January 22nd of 2024, we will have an answer of if Bungie was the devil or not on this. Like I said, I see both sides. It is a convenient time to fire somebody, and there is a possibility for racial bias, especially he was the only African American on his team, and Alm probably ruffled some feathers, trying to get her agenda fixed. And then there's the other side where Bungie drops the "it's nothing personnel, kid. Omiwa no de shindaru," and cuts them, right? You get fired because you're a bad employee. The devil's in the details on this one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do not forget to like, comment, and put your gag in. Be my sub. I appreciate you. Have a great day.